It's time for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
As I was walking down the street one day, a man came up to me and asked me what the time was that was on my watch. Yeah, I said,
welcome in on this wonderful Wednesday, hump day on the 9th of November in the year 2022. There's a new number one in college football in the playoff poll. Gambling. This shocked me. Gambling, and it got killed like in the 80s to the teens. Gambling busted in California. We'll work our way backward to that. Grizz and Spurs tonight. You know that San Antonio is only 2-4 at home. Overall, 5-6, which may be better than a lot of people thought. But I want to start today with the end of an amazing era for one of the really good guys on the sports scene in Memphis. It's the end of the Mike Clary era at Rhodes College. Not that it didn't last long enough. 44 years. He's the oldest tenured Rhodes College athletic person in the history of the school. 44 years. I knew him when he was the football coach. He then became the AD. He's coached women's golf. He's coached track and field. He's coached swimming and diving. That's pretty diverse over 44 years. He was the football coach for 12 years. He's the winningest football coach in the history of the school. He was the golf coach for 17 years, and he won 3 Division III national titles. And he was the athletic director for 26 years. He was the one that succeeded George Lapidus as the AD there, and it was George who hired him as the football coach, gave him a chance to be the football coach, and then he succeeded George Lapidus. I saw him at the last, they have this golf tournament every year that he was a part of. It was a fundraiser for the athletic department, and he was going to put it down, ending it, because a lot of the players that were involved in that were getting older, and it was getting shorter and shorter in numbers. And he was going to try to incorporate that with the regular school and their own fundraisers, and maybe somebody else would take it and have a tournament in that time slot in the fall. At that point, he wasn't disclosing that he was going to retire, but he and his wife Nancy are now going to walk off into the sunset and enjoy, I hope, a lot of great years together traveling. He'll play more golf, but the end of an amazing era, 44 years at Rhodes College, and Mike's tenure will come to an end. I think it's going to be in this spring. So that announcement comes out today. New college football playoff poll. We'll talk with Brett Norsworthy about that in a little bit. And Georgia's number one, no big surprise. Ohio State 2, Michigan 3, TCU 4. But, you know, I always think these things are funny because they're all set up where you know it's going to change. They got Tennessee at 5, right? By the way, TCU plays at Texas this week. TCU's in that 4 spot at Austin. You know who the favorite in that game is, don't you?
I don't.
It's Texas, and it's not even close. I believe it's Texas by a touchdown.
Like you said, the college football playoff is always funny. You know who had it right was the Associated Press. Georgia was always number one in the AP poll, but that's not the one that gets televised every Tuesday on ESPN.
Well, they thought Tennessee was going to beat Georgia.
They
Obviously,
did.
Those
committee
smart
members.
people in that committee. I really believe a lot of that committee thinks about, let's set this up to try to get the 4 best teams in the end. And, I don't think there's any question that Tennessee's going to make this in because the winner of the Ohio State-Michigan game provided they win the Big Ten. Well, they're going to be in. Will the loser, much like Tennessee, because now Tennessee is not going to play in the SEC championship game. So what, with Missouri, Vandy, who else have they got?
Let me tell you.
South Carolina at South Carolina. I just remembered. With those three schools, They're not losing.
2 on the road. They could lose it at South Carolina. South Carolina's taking some ones
they're
out.
Playing Vanderbilt in Nashville. More, I promise you, they will have more volunteer fans at that game than they will Tennessee Vandy fans.
I believe you're right.
I promise you they will. That's a home game, as far as I'm concerned.
Certainly.
So the one game maybe they'll lose is South Carolina on the road. I doubt it. What do you think the line, if it was today, what would that line be?
At South Carolina?
Yeah.
Oh, 17.
I was going to say 14.
Yeah, 14,
so,
17.
Come on.
I almost said 21, to be honest with you, but no, probably 14, 17, something like that on the road.
Yeah, that's what I think. I don't. They're going to win that. So they're going to end up 11-1. The only loss was by 2 touchdowns to the number 1 team, Georgia, in Athens. Now, my question is, if TCU loses to Texas, if Oregon loses somewhere along the way, because Oregon is kind of poised to possibly get in there if they win the Pac-12.
Because their only loss to Georgia, that's a really good loss.
Exactly. Be the same loss that Tennessee had.
That's right. And they benefit a lot. That win over UCLA is a lot bigger than I thought it was at the end of the day.
So, and honestly, what happens with Michigan, Ohio State, you're going to have the same thing. The loser that's not going to play in the Big Ten championship, which means they're only going to have 1 loss. So they're going to be just like Tennessee. Would the committee take 2 from the SEC, 2 from the Big Ten, and if TCU loses, and there's good look, they're supposed to lose this week in Austin. If they lose that game, if Oregon stumbles at all, I mean, do you take a 1-loss Oregon team, say they win out, you take a 1-loss Oregon team that only lost to Georgia over either Tennessee or the loser of the Ohio State-Michigan game?
Well, that's what I've been going back and forth with, too, is everyone seems to be in consensus that Oregon with a loss to Georgia has the better resume than either Ohio State or Michigan losing to one another. But they still had to play Penn State. I know Michigan's non-conference schedule wasn't very good, and I guess you have to give Oregon the benefit of the doubt on that. But who's to say going through a Pac-12 schedule is somehow more noteworthy than a 1-loss Michigan or Ohio State team?
Well, nobody's going to beat the Tennessee record. They got they have 5 wins over top 25 teams.
That's right. Well, but then you look at TCU too, and people don't think the Big 12 is great. It's a very deep league. Like we were talking about Iowa State a couple weeks ago.
Right.
One of the bottom teams in the league is still a really good football team. TCU's played some deep schedule. They have a lot of top 25 wins, but it's still not as impressive as what Tennessee has done, or even maybe what Oregon's done.
Look, if TCU continues to win, there's no way to get them out. They're undefeated.
Right.
They'll be champions of that league.
What about 1 loss, though?
Well, that's the thing.
1 loss Ohio State, Michigan, 1 loss TCU, 1 loss Oregon. Now how do you judge them against each other?
This is why it's so ridiculous that they're at 4. And I blame the ACC. I blame the Pac-12. They're the ones that didn't want to expand the playoff. You know what? Oklahoma and Texas might still be in the Big 12 if they had expanded the playoffs. All these guys cut off their nose to spite their face. I'll never understand why that ended up being the way it did, but that's it. So it's interesting because, I don't think USC's in the picture. I don't know if LSU – we've never had a 2-loss team in, but if LSU ran the table and won the championship, they trump both Georgia and Tennessee, right?
I don't think we have to worry about that, though, to be honest. I mean, you're right. If they run the table, I don't think they're beating Georgia.
I don't either. And then USC could end up upending Oregon at some point. Alabama's certainly out of the picture. Clemson is now totally, I think, out of the picture by the way they lost to Notre Dame. They got to play Louisville this week. Louisville could surprise them, but that game is in Death Valley, so it'll be interesting to see. Ole Miss, they have no shot now. They're at number 11. They play Alabama this week. That'll be interesting, and Brett's going to talk about that in a little bit. Tennessee is 17, and UCF, not Tennessee, Tulane is 17, and UCF is 22. So
it's
nice to have the American with two teams in.
Tulane I'm really high on, and I wasn't really high on Cincinnati last year at the end of the year, but Tulane I think deserves a little more respect, to be honest. How did Notre Dame sneak in at 20?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't understand.
People forgot they lost to Marshall and they lost to Stanford.
It's incredible.
I know. Because they're Notre Dame?
That's exactly right. It's because they're Notre Dame.
Because they're Notre Dame. They get more out of being Notre Dame than any university gets.
That's right.
Including their own TV network and their own money.
They own NBC.
And, I am amazed that they have been able to keep this football independence as long as they have. Because I don't get it. I really don't get it. They are not the national entity that they used to be, but apparently they are because they just got to 20. What's their record?
6-3.
Yeah, 6-3 in their 20th with losses to Marshall and Stanford.
Yeah, Texas and Kansas State are 6-3, but they've lost to other top 25 teams. Well, Kansas State lost to Tulane, but they're a 17 team in the country.
So who's their big win? Their big win is Clemson.
That's it. It's their only big win. I don't understand. And they played terrible up to that point, too. They're literally just put them at 20 because they won one football game.
Didn't they get Syracuse too? They got
did.
Syracuse.
Yeah, that was a big win as well.
That was at Syracuse.
But that was the week after Syracuse had already lost to Clemson as well. So you got, not to say it was not a big win. Syracuse playing good ball, but kind of a letdown at that point.
Interesting for sure. You know who's favored in the Tulane UCF game, don't you?
Don't say UCF.
No, it's Tulane by 2 because it is in New Orleans. I'll be very curious. There was whispering that they would do game day down in New Orleans if both teams, UCF and Tulane, win. And they both won. But that's not where it's going. I'm trying to remember. It's. I think it's. Is it going to TCU in Texas?
That's right.
I think it is.
TCU, Texas.
Well, that is the better game.
Certainly so, but they always talk about wanting to go to new, unique places. Not that New Orleans is new, nor it is unique though. But that would be a great spot for game day, sitting there in the French Quarter before a football game.
They'd probably go to Jackson Square, right across from Cafe Du Monde.
That'd be a great spot. I mean, that's already a crowded spot as it is.
They've done stuff there for national games, for national title games.
Oh,
and
really?
Things of that. Yeah.
Well, so there you go.
They know the logistics. They could have done that, but. They decided TCU Texas more intriguing, and it is now that TCU is number 4, and they're the underdogs in the game at Austin. So that will be kind of fun. The thing that most surprised me over this maybe whole election season is Proposition 26 and Proposition 27 in California. We all think of California as being liberal and out there and trying new things all the time. And I want to say it was like 84% to 16%. Proposition 26, which had to do with casinos, and Proposition 27, which had to do with sports betting, even on your apps, your phone apps and things of that nature, resoundingly lost. I was stunned at that. I don't know if that will make the FanDuels, the BetUS's, the DraftKings, all those wonderful companies that have put a lot of revenue into a lot of people's pockets, including radio stations all over the country, if that makes them at all rethink it. I think there still will be gambling allowed on tribal areas in the state of California. And that might have been this whole thing.
I think so.
Because the tribal communities were involved in this, and I don't know if there was a backlash to all of that. I really don't understand the total politics that went into this voting. But, I mean, absolutely shut down. 84% to 16%.
I know that in Florida, that's the big reason why they can't legalize gambling in Florida is because there's a really strong, I guess, lobby is what you call it, or contingency of the Native American, like you said, the Indian reservations of them making sure that gambling isn't passed because they control that entire industry in those states.
But I do believe within those propositions there was a partnership with the tribal lands and the Indians. So
really?
I don't really know what in the end it was all about, but I do wonder if things, how the world changes. We swing like a pendulum. Usually the further you go one way, you're going to go the opposite way, same distance. And I wonder if this is the beginning of some sort of a pendulum swing in terms of gambling and sports betting overall. I'll wait and see. I don't know because up to now, it has been resoundingly popular. The amounts of money that have been bet in every state that allows it has been staggering, much more than I ever would have thought. But maybe this is the first chink in the armor. We shall see. Grizz Spurs tonight. I don't think Steven Adams is going to play. We know Triple J is not going to play, although I'm hearing he's getting closer and closer and closer. And a little birdie on the inside, I can't reveal my source, told me that it would be November, not December, but November when Jaren Jackson Jr. would come back. Quick question for you, kind of a coaching question because people don't know. J-Mo, in his prior life, has been an assistant basketball coach. Does Triple J help out all of the defensive woes that the Grizzlies have had? I think he helps a great deal, but I don't think he's the total answer.
I agree 100%. People are saying that he will answer all those questions, but if you look at the numbers defensively, first of all, Jaren, for all of his defensive prowess, he's an excellent rim protector, one of the best in the league.
Yes.
He certainly struggles to guard the basketball, even back to the basket. And also, the Grizzlies are giving up one of the highest three-point percentages in the NBA.
He's not stopping those.
He's not stopping those. That's not where he plays defense. So I do think, rim protection's a big factor in all of this, but no, I don't think he answers the problems that they're having defensively.
Did you know that today is signing day?
I didn't. You told me that before the show. That was the first I had heard of it.
Everything but football. But basketball signing today. A lot of other teams get their signings in today. I am told Mikey Williams is probably not going to sign today for the University of Memphis. I think the commitment is solid. I think they're going to stagger out some of these things because what is the period? I'm trying to remember. Is it 2 weeks that you've got?
I believe so, and then there's another signing period
in December,
or after Christmas, spring. I think.
So yeah. I think the December one has been moved to November. That's what
That's
it is.
Right.
And then the football one is in December, and then is that in February? Football's in February.
Yeah, football because that's when they do the big show. ESPNU is on all day doing all that stuff.
Right. So and then you do have a later signing period in the spring for basketball.
That's right.
But as of right now, Memphis has not had any of their signings, and I think there is one person that is going to put it on paper today, just one of this 7th-ranked class that Penny has put together. They'll probably stagger it out so each gets their own big day, but we shall see about all of that. We'll talk Tigers win over Vandy, St. Louis on Tuesday. Mike DeCourcy, lead analyst when it comes to college basketball and a Hall of Famer for the Sporting News. He will join it. He's come out with some bold predictions. We'll get his from the Sporting News, talk about NIL, Mikey Williams, and all of that other good stuff. By the way, on the Sporting News preseason All-American teams, Kendrick Davis is number 3 on the 3rd team. So we'll get his takes on that. Yeah, it's really sad about Brittany Griner. In Russia, if you lose your appeal, which she's lost, they don't mess around. Usually it takes a while, but they put you to a labor camp. And this is just so... It's a tragic story. I mean, she made the mistake. She should not have brought marijuana into a foreign country. So she's guilty of being stupid on that front. But come on. This is 9 years in labor camps for this? In this world today? I know the United States government is doing everything they can to free her. There's a lot of speculation that there's not going to be any deal until after the midterm elections, which is amazing what a victim she is to all of this. Now that the midterm elections are over, they're moving her to this labor camp. I hope that the government can make the swaps because this is truly, she's a political prisoner, and it is just absolutely awful. And one last note, again, college basketball, Georgetown a winner last night.
Barely.
In overtime over Coppin State. That snaps a 21-game losing streak. I mean,
I was surprised, honestly, to see Patrick Ewing still had a job yesterday when I was looking at that game.
I really – well, here's what I was going in my head. I knew it was a bad year for Patrick Ewing. I didn't realize he'd lost 21 games in a row.
Yeah, I think
it's like they haven't won since last December.
I think they won 6 games last year is what I saw yesterday, which is an incredible number for Georgetown, no less.
So they haven't won a conference game in a year.
That's right. And they might, based on the way I watched some of that game against Coppin State last night because there wasn't an NBA on, they might not win another one this year based on the way that game went. And South Carolina, I believe, almost lost to South Carolina State, too. They only ended up winning by 3. So, 2 scary. I don't know how good South Carolina State is. I don't know how good Coppin State is, but 2 scary games yesterday.
Well, I'm going to tell you, the American lost 3 games in yesterday. The day that Memphis won at Vandy. Wagner beat Temple. SEMO beat South Florida. Wow, can you believe that? I didn't need, they didn't have coverage of stats on that. I wonder what Tyler Harris did in that game. And then somebody beat UCF. I can't remember who that was. But UCF, USF, and Temple all lost games. So Temple being this big dark horse team, one loss doesn't do it.
UNC Asheville beat UCF.
UNC Asheville in overtime. I think it might have been double overtime.
But a big win yesterday for ECU over Mercer, 1 by 2. And they were underdogs in that game.
Yeah.
I know Mercer's not a great team or anything.
ECU, I think, is going to be the worst team in the league. But,
really? Worse than USF?
Yes, I think so. But who knows now? That is not very, very good. We're sitting in the Family Leisure Studios. The wonderful Relax at Home sale still going on where you can get great discounts on massage chairs and that new home theater set. It's cool. You get a whole set of these beautiful chairs. I mean, watching a movie in there is like maybe even better than going to the theater. There's pool tables and shuffleboards if you want to invite friends and family over for a little competition. And good numbers on saunas, hot tubs, and patio furniture. All you got to do is get to I-40 and Whidden Road. And, of course, our title sponsor. It's Homer Skelton Hyundai, where if you buy a new Santa Fe or a new Tucson or an Elantra, any of those great cars, the Veloster, any new Hyundai, you get a deferred payment. You don't have to make your first payment on that new car for 90 days. We're talking buy the car, drive it out, wait 3 months, make your first payment. Only at Homer. That's right at the corner of Highway 78 and the first exit in Mississippi, Craft Road. Go see Chris True and all the gang, and don't pay for 3 months at Homer Skelton Hyundai. Back in a minute. Brett Norsworthy is standing by. We'll talk SEC and college football when we come back.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows, stay up to date with station events, and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
I'm Brian Elder. Depending on how long you've been around, you've likely known my name for 30 years. Perhaps for my 20 years as the morning show on Kix 106 as the Young and Elder Show, or my 15 years at Brian Elder Roofing. So obviously, my reputation means everything to me. One terrible customer experience could tarnish a third of a century of goodwill. My reputation for quality and strong relationships is our main focus. We're the highest certification, a platinum preferred contractor with Owens Corning. If you have a business or a commercial building, we're the highest certification for warranties with GAF and Mulehide products. We don't come at you in sales mode. If you got a problem, sometimes the solution is just to fix the problem. Call me right now. I'll come out and see you today. 867-0303 or BrianElderRoofing.com.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Yellowstone, television's #1 show, returns on Paramount Network.
I, John Dutton, do solemnly swear to uphold the Constitution of the state of Montana against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Featuring an all-star cast led by Academy Award winner Kevin Costner.
The invasion is over.
They will fight you dirty.
Is there any other way?
As the Dutton family fights to protect their legacy, they'll learn power has a price.
Signing this is a declaration of war.
We're already at war.
Yellowstone returns Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern for an epic 2-hour premiere event exclusively on Paramount Network.
Everyone can boost their digital confidence with NordVPN. All it takes is one simple click. NordVPN will block online trackers, hide your virtual location, and secure your devices from malware-infected files during downloads. It will also detect malicious websites. So catch the Black Friday deal for a 1 or 2 year plan at NordVPN.com and get 3 months for free. NordVPN, cybersecurity built for every day.
Add a little excitement to your sports watching experience by betting on all the action on FanDuel Sportsbook. There's a reason why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Their app is simple to use. They've got great odds on all different betting markets, unique, fun bet types like same-game parlay, and exclusive, always-on promotions such as enhanced odds boosts on the biggest events to let you get more action out of every game day. And if you win, they even get you your winnings safely in as little as 24 hours. If you've never tried FanDuel Sportsbook, what are you waiting for? Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app to get started and be sure to sign up with promo code CASH so they know I sent you. That's FanDuel Sportsbook, promo code CASH. Must be 21 and older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable site credit that expires 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Brett Norsworthy coming your way in a second. I got to let you know, though, starting tomorrow, then Friday and Saturday, Dinstall's will kick off the holiday season with a very special shopping weekend. You can stop by any of their 5 stores where they make it on Pleasant View, downtown, Collierville. There's Germantown, and, of course, the store in my neck of the woods in Laurelwood. If you stop by any of those 5 stores, you can enjoy samples of what will be this season's favorites, and you're going to get a 20% discount off on all of your purchases. I'm talking cashew crunch and chocolate fudge and tree pretzels, a whole lot more. This weekend only. Again, Laurelwood, Germantown, Collierville, Pleasant View, and downtown. Check out the samples and then get 20% off. Dinstall's, well, they've been celebrating 120 years of making very sweet memories. Now we go to Forest City. Our friend Brett Norsworthy standing by. You got a big one, Ole Miss and Alabama. And does that it's still a great game, obviously, but doesn't quite have the luster it might have just a couple of weeks ago. Good morning.
Good morning, Dave. Even if the Alabama had won Saturday at LSU, game day would have been there. They're not. Game day's at the right place. They're at TCU at Texas. That's the less losses combined and a better ranking combined. So I think they made the right decision there. And that's a big one in the college football playoff rankings, but it's still Alabama. Look, Alabama, there's plenty of things about Alabama to criticize. The offensive line's had issues. Yeah. I think Bryce Young is injured. They don't really have that hammer running back down on the goal line. Jamar Gibbs is really good, leads the team in rushing and in receiving. First Alabama running back to be able to do that since Bobby Humphrey in the 80s. They're not vintage Alabama, but let's don't talk about them like they're Purdue or Minnesota or Wake Forest. They've lost 2 games on the road on the last play of the game. They're still pretty good.
Yeah. The Georgia-Tennessee game, I know you're a little surprised. You thought Tennessee was going to run it. Hendon Hooker saw a lot of pressure, and it makes me rethink, and I wonder if it does you, because I had Hendon Hooker leading the way for my vote for the Heisman. Now I got to rethink it. Does Bennett come into your mind at all? Is he just a game manager? Where do you think all that goes? What are the ramifications of Georgia's pretty resounding victory over the Volunteers?
Well, they're immense. Now, Tennessee's got a really scoreboard watch and hope to kind of thread the needle. I still think they can, but I thought the college football rankings last night got it right. I think TCU with that 0 should be in there at number 4, and they are. The rankings, I don't know how anybody can quibble with the rankings last night. I thought they got it right all the way down the list, and if Tulane keeps on winning, Tulane will go to a Cotton Bowl, and that'll be another historic bowl game for that program that's been to Sugar Bowls and been to a Rose Bowl in their football history. It was a long time ago, but for Tennessee last week, the easy walk to the Heisman Trophy for Hendon Hooker now is not so easy. He's got to finish strong, and I think he will against Mizzou, South Carolina, and Vanderbilt. He can really rack up a lot of numbers over the next 3 weeks. But will that be enough? What about Blake Corum at Michigan? Are we even going to factor in a running back out there in college football? We still got C.J. Stroud at Ohio State for the Heisman Trophy. And for Stetson Bennett, Dave, it's a tough call. What he's done deserves some type of meritorious lifetime achievement. Way to go, Stetson Bennett. But I don't think it's the Heisman Trophy he deserves.
I guess we got to wait and see how it all plays out. I think you got to look at him, but
that's right. We got a lot of football left.
But that's exactly right. What is Ohio State, Michigan going to do? That's going to play out to see if any of those characters.
Corum goes for 200 in that one.
Yeah, exactly.
In Columbus,
right?
That would send a big statement. So and then the conference championship games. All right, for Stetson Bennett, 23-3 as a starter.
Isn't that amazing?
Let's say they win. It is amazing. Very Jay Barker-esque. Jay was 35-2 as a starter for Bama in the early 90s, and they're very comparable. They're surrounded by a galaxy of stars, and they kind of keep it between the ditches. They do a good job of not messing things up. But let's say Stetson Bennett in that SEC championship game, say against the LSU, he passed for 350, he runs for 80, and he's clearly the star of the game. Then we might be thinking about the Meritorious Service Lifetime Achievement Award being the stiff arm.
Yeah. A lot of football still to go. That's the beauty of it, and that's why we love it. Every game is so critical. Every game has immense
and Dave,
ramifications.
Think if we had the playoffs this year, how many more games that brings in and more fans that would bring in this weekend that would legitimately say, we're playing for a play. Ole Miss would be saying that this weekend. Ole Miss still loosely and can, if they won out, they could get in a mix, but would need a lot of help. There are a lot of cars in front of them. But think if it was just an 18 playoff, never mind if it was 12 with the buys on campus, that it would bring in more people to be involved. Well, I think I know what's going to happen once we got down to the Final Four. It's what's happened in the years past in the Final Four. Big's going to win. But just think of how that would captivate so many fan bases.
Well, just think of it this way. Alabama and Ole Miss could be an elimination game to get in the playoffs. That would be part of what the intrigue would be for this weekend. How about Tulane and UCF? The winner of that game is going to make the playoffs.
Great example, Dave. And do you think people at Loyola go, 2018, man, we got hammered in the semis down in San Antonio? No. They talk about, we went to the Final Four.
Sister Jean made the trip and became a national star. Are you kidding
Sister
me?
Jean's going to outlive us all.
Yeah, exactly.
Because she's lived a better life than you and I have.
Oh, my gosh. I do have to ask you about the Auburn vacancy because I keep reading these national stories, and, the three guys that seem to be emerging are, one, Deion Sanders. I don't know what a fit he would be at Auburn. I still think he wants the Florida State job, but with Florida State getting in the top 25 and bowl eligible already, I think Norvell saved his job. The other is Hugh Freeze, fresh off beating Arkansas in Fayetteville for Liberty, and he just got a 8-year, $40 million deal. He's set for life in a cushy, beautiful place to live, but he's got a big ego. He's got a huge ego. I think he wants to win a national title. Would he take that job? Or Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin's name is mentioned a lot. I think he's mentioned as being a possible successor to Nick Saban at Alabama. Would he take the Auburn job? Those are the three most mentioned. Who else are we missing? Who do you think would be the favorite at this point?
I think those three it's a great starting point. I still think there's the whale out there. There's the Urban Meyer, Bob Stoops, and does Matt Rule qualify as a whale after playing?
I don't know.
After coaching in the NFL, he's way up there. I still think there's that list out there because sometimes in these coaching searches, oftentimes in these coaching searches, what appears to be the front runners after the immediacy of the opening for the job, it doesn't end up being that person at press conference day. A lot of times, what everybody kind of thinks, it does not end up happening. But those three, that's a good starting place. I think Deion Sanders. I don't know if he does or doesn't have an agent. I don't know who handles his coaching stuff. But if I'm Deion Sanders, I let it known to the world. I start in the SEC because a lot of lesser resumes did start in the SEC. Sam Pittman started in the SEC, his first head coaching job. Ed Orgeron's first head coaching job was in the SEC.
In all fairness, though, the Sam Pittman was like the third choice, and it turned out to be a great choice. Don't get me wrong, but that was not numero uno for the Hogs. And Orgeron, that was weird the way that whole thing worked out.
He was about third choice. But if I'm Deion Sanders, that's all the more reason. I'm not going to be anybody's third choice. I'm going to be the first choice in the best league in the country. He's earned that. He knows football. And you hire Deion Sanders, your spring practices will be carried live by ESPN. Not the game. Your practices will be carried live.
I don't know which way they go. If it's me and I'm a prized coach. Now Freeze is doing a reclamation on his whole image, so if he has this chance, I get it. Even though I don't think I would leave that beautiful site in Virginia at $5 million a year for 8 more years, and you can win in that conference that he's going into, but I just would be leery of it considering the control that 2 or 3 of the boosters have. And the fact of the matter is this, as good as Auburn is, as great as their history is, they're number 2 in the state to Alabama, and that ain't changing.
And they have a great history. And John Cohen, at his first press conference, he made it clear, that he's been told by the Board of Trustees and all the powers that be that it is his hire. He will be hiring the football coach. Dave, if that's true then, and he ended up hiring Lane Kiffin, isn't he telling Mississippi State fans, his former employers, that Lane Kiffin is a much better coach than Mike Leach? If it's his hire and he hires Lane Kiffin and he doesn't hire Mike Leach, that's telling State you were second best the whole time.
Well, I think you got to read between the lines on some of those statements in that opening press conference, because he did say this, but he also said, the 30-year-old would have said, this is my pick. I'm going to do this. The 56-year-old is saying, I'm going to take as much input from anybody at Auburn before I make this final decision. That, to me, was saying, I'm going to listen.
But in the end, his name is going to be on it.
Yeah.
He said it was his decision. I'm not going to read between the lines. I'm going to read his words. I'm going to go by what he said.
Okay. No matter what, whether somebody else does it or not, it's his name that's on it, because that's the way it works. That is for sure. You and I are old, and we're the only guys around, I think. I think Greg and Eli talk a little baseball. But because there's so few of us, that sport has lost in a bunch of its popularity. I thought this was a really good World Series. I enjoyed watching
World
it.
Series.
And I just saw today the World Series ratings down 11%. Mm-hmm. What does baseball do? What can baseball do? Because this was a great series.
It was, but it got caught up because of the delay of the year with the labor strife early in the year. It got caught way too much in the football monster. But it was a great World Series. I love it for Dusty Baker. From 19-year-old first appearance in the big leagues in 1968 to 73 years old and winning as a manager in 2022 after all those wins and really all those battles against different other managers, against Tony La Russa, all those years. I was really happy for him. But baseball's got to understand it has its market, and that's probably its market. It's probably not going to grow. It needs to make it needs really to appeal to what it has.
I don't mind the pitch clock. I think that'll speed things up. It did in the minor leagues. So they're trying some things. The shift, to me, that's just stupid. Learn to hit the other way. I don't quite get that. If you're a major leaguer and you can't hit the other way or bunt, I don't get that stuff this day and age. But I love the game, and I think you're right. That's what its niche is, and they need to appeal to that niche and keep pounding that way. And it's never going to be what it was. Oh, by the way, I don't think you get HBO. There's an unbelievable documentary. It may have just debuted last night. I saw it for the first time. It's on Willie Mays. And I had forgotten. You know that Jackie Robinson was taking shots at Willie Mays for not being active enough in the civil rights movement, and then he responded and talked about the way he was doing things. I mean, it's a great piece if you get a chance to see it.
I'll try. I love Willie Mays, love Jackie Robinson, and I don't remember that.
Yeah, no, good stuff. You'll learn a lot. Good luck on Ole Miss and Alabama. You can listen to that game right here on Sports 56. Your pregame show starts 12:30. Is that correct?
12:30 from the Grove, 2:30 kickoff.
I'm going to guarantee you one thing. Okay, this is a guarantee. Take it to the bank. Brett Norsworthy will see 25 beautiful women at least Saturday afternoon.
That'll be in my 3-minute walk over to the stage.
So that's a way under on the over-under. I
yeah.
I hear you. Thank you.
At least.
Thank you,
You
much.
got it.
That is
Thank
Brett
you, man.
Norsworthy. Brett Norsworthy, don't miss him at all. 3 to 6 every day with Gabe Kuhn on Sportstime right here on Sports 56. If you've got an elder person in your life, you're a little worried they're getting up there. Maybe they live by themselves. You think it's time for assisted living. Maybe you really are in need of memory care. I've got 3 locations that I want to tell you about. They're all AmeriCare senior living in the Memphis area. In Memphis proper, 3168 Hacks Cross Road. In Collierville, it's called Schilling Gardens. In Olive Branch, it's on Goodman Road. It's called Olive Grove Terrace. And the way that they work it at AmeriCare, it's all about aging the right way and taking care of an elder person's needs. And we know about diet. We know about exercise. Yeah, that's important. Wellness, the mental stability, intimate small communities. That's what these are, with specific programs for your loved one that will go in. Let's say they have a risk at falling. They have special ways with which to deal with that and actually exercise to prevent that from happening. Meal times are an occasion. Definitely wonderful, insightful programs that keep the elders interested. Good friends are made. And here's the key. If you send your loved one for assisted care or memory care to South Breeze, Schilling Gardens, or Olive Grove Terrace, that place, in the end, is going to feel like home. That's the key to aging gracefully. Back in just a minute. We will head to Indianapolis. Our Hall of Famer from the Sporting News, Mike DeCourcy. He comes your way next.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Welcome to Triumph Auto Sales, where you'll have a great car buying experience. Triumph Auto Sales is your #1 source of quality pre-owned vehicles ranging from lease returns to new car trades, all at huge savings. Plus, Triumph has a full array of financing options to meet your needs. Find your next car online at triumphautosales.com or stop in today at 4875 Elmore Road. Triumph Auto Sales will help you get the vehicle you want at the price you need and the service you deserve. For a great car and a great experience from a local and family-owned business, visit Triumph Auto Sales.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. In these uncertain economic times, there are so many things as a contractor and a business owner that I cannot control. The rising cost of materials, not to mention fuel and transportation costs. In the last 2 years, shingle prices have almost doubled and commercial materials have doubled. And I don't have to tell you what fuel costs these days. But you know what I can control? How much markup I put on a project. I have always prided myself in knowing I never gouge a customer. But in an effort to ensure my crews have work and my customers are being treated fairly, I have lowered my profit margin, hoping to give you a price you can live with and keeping my crews busy. So if you need a roof or gutters, please give us a call. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. Fiveash Roofing, a proud sponsor of Tiger Athletics and a member of the Tigers home team. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for
When a cold comes on strong, knock it out with Vicks DayQuil Severe for max strength daytime relief. Just one dose of Vicks DayQuil Severe starts to relieve 9 of your worst cold and flu symptoms to help take you from 9 to none. Power through your day with Vicks DayQuil Severe, the daytime non-drowsy, coughing, aching, fever, sore throat, 9 to none medicine. Use as directed.
Memphis Tiger basketball is back at FedEx Forum. Coach Benny Hardaway's team looks to return to the NCAA tournament for a second straight season, with preseason All-American Kendrick Davis, DeAndre Williams, and Alex Lomax leading the way. Season tickets start at just $99 of the dynamic season pass, where you can experience a different seating location for each game. Don't miss a minute of the action this season. See you at FedEx Forum, and go Tigers go.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
To Indy we go in a minute. Mike DeCourcy, the Hall of Famer from the Sporting News, will join us. You know, the new government regulations just coming out are driving HVAC prices even higher. But my friends at Conway Services, well, they're here to help you beat that price increase, because they're going to do this. They're going to replace your old inefficient system with a new energy-efficient heating and cooling system before the prices go up. And if you call Conway right now, 384-3511, they will throw in a free furnace if you get a new cooling system from them. And they got select couple. It's not just one that they will give you this deal with. And they'll throw a free Nest thermostat in the deal. That's state of the art. So beat the prices. Get efficient. Get a new system. Get a free furnace. All you got to do is call 384-3511 Conway Services. We'll go to Indianapolis, and Mike DeCourcy does join us now from the Sporting News. Your first take, I don't know if you got a chance to really watch much of it, but the Tigers pretty dominant over Vandy in Nashville. What'd you think?
First of all, I continue to remain amused about the fact that there were, I think, somewhere on the order of 125 Division I basketball games on Monday night, maybe more. And there was one involving two major teams. And, of course, it wasn't on over-the-air TV.
I don't get
cable
that.
TV. But fortunately, a couple of months ago, I decided to invest in a smarter TV than the one I had so that I could watch such things as ESPN Plus without having to go to a different room, and was able to sit in my family room and watch the Tigers. And I thought they looked really good. Kendrick Davis is so much fun to watch. He has such great command of the basketball. Maybe a little bit to the extent of over dominating the ball at times, but I'd rather have someone who does that than the absence of anyone who could do that.
Right.
And so I think that has put Alex Lomax in a position now where he can just be what I used to call, when Mike Hopkins played for Syracuse basketball in the early 90s. He's now the head coach at the University of Washington. I used to call him a possession receiver, a guy who gets you the tough third down and makes sure that the basketball is valued and makes sure that the other team doesn't have an advantage when in any circumstance. And that's kind of what Alex was born to do, to be that guy that is always making hard, smart plays instead of being asked to run an offense and create an attack. Obviously, when Kendrick is out, you have somebody now who's played 3 years of Division I point guard, so he can take it over. But I think that he's much better situated to being in this circumstance with Kendrick having the ball in his hand.
I'm in total agreement. There was a lot of question. Can these two guys who are on the smaller side, can they play together? I think the answer overwhelmingly this past game was yes, they can. And it gives Davis a chance to really rest up a little bit, not be fatigued if you're going to play 30 minutes, because most of the time it's going to be Alo that brings the ball up.
Yeah, and I think that when it comes down to generating a big possession the ball will find Kendrick, and he will make the smart decision. He's really good with the basketball. He makes great plays, both for himself and for others. You know that he can score at a high level. He did it at 20 points a game for a NCAA tournament contender last season. So you have that, and he also has playmaking ability as well. Had 6 assists on Monday. And again, whereas others who got 6 assists did it against low majors, he got 6 assists against a legit opponent. And so I think Memphis has a lot to be excited about coming off a Monday night.
You put Kendrick Davis on your 3rd team in the Sporting News All-American group. You did not have DeAndre Williams. Was he ever even thought of? He's an all-conference player, 26 years old. I think an underrated player. No, I think CBS had him as a top 50 guy. Where was DeAndre Williams in the Sporting News scheme of things?
I think DeAndre is an all-league player. I think that's who he is. I think that's where his college basketball ceiling resides. But I hope I can express that I've always loved him as a player, and really think that when he's been injured in the past, it's taken a toll on the Tigers. It's made a difference in their ability to either make the NCAAs or to make the NCAAs maybe in the style that they would have preferred, to not have to play in an 8-9 game last year and then play Gonzaga in the first game, to get into the NCAAs in 2021. I really believe if he'd been able to play the full year, that they would have gotten there. Yeah. That his absence was the number one reason that they didn't. And so I think he's a tremendous player. You've got now, you've got those 3 positions covered. You know exactly what you're going to get out of Malcolm Dandridge. And so can you get more out of the other position? Chandler Lawson, whoever it is, you have to get the most possible productivity out of that other spot so that Kendrick doesn't have to score 20 every night for you to have a chance to be successful.
I think that he will get some help from whether it's Dandridge or KO or some other post guy will end up, and Chandler Lawson could be the guy who's finally healthy. So that will be kind of fun to watch. You did an interesting story this week on Armando Bacot from North Carolina and NIL money. And today's signing day, and commitment came to the University of Memphis from a 5-star guy that has 12 million followers. He's a social influence maven, I guess, is the best way to put it, because you can make NIL money. I don't know how, but he's already a millionaire. He's 17 years old, Mikey Williams. Talk a little bit about all of this and what you think Mikey Williams might add to the U of M.
Well, I think when I talked to Armando Bacot on, it was about 3 Thursdays ago, we were at the film theater, where the basketball team watches game tape together in the Dean Dome. And I if it weren't for name, image, and likeness, I wouldn't have been sitting there with him. It's that simple. Maybe I'd have been sitting there with somebody else, maybe not. But his presence was a reason why Carolina is one of the top 2-3 teams in the country entering the season. Number 1 for just about everybody, not for Sporting News, but we certainly gave it a lot of thought. And I think that having him back in college basketball is wonderful. And I think that when you look at all these different iterations that are developing for prospects to arrive in the NBA without going through college basketball, perhaps, like Overtime Elite, particularly G League Ignite, there are a lot of alternatives. And college basketball is becoming more lucrative than any of those. Right. Some guys now are going to Overtime, and I know there's a Kentucky prospect going to Overtime because they want that particular venue of competition and training and the opportunity to earn NIL there, but they don't want to jeopardize their college eligibility because, one, it's still, and I will go to my grave, Dave, it's the best single training apparatus for future NBA prospects that there is in the world. It's better than the European system. It's better than the G League Ignite. It's better than Overtime Elite. playing NCAA Division I basketball is the best venue to the NBA. And now you can do that and make a significant amount of money. And where do you do that? Well, in places like Memphis that have tremendous followings, long-term followings, deep devotion to the sport and to their particular team, and robust business communities that have long backed and sponsored that program. And so it's a great place for that player, whoever he might be, whether it's someone who's from the city or whether it's someone that they bring in from elsewhere. There's a lot of opportunity there for that prospect to play in front of a passionate rabid fan base, and I say rabid with in the strictly kindest term, and as well as in a really robust business market that's going to provide you with opportunities.
I think we already talked about DeAndre Williams. He doesn't come back if he doesn't get NIL money. I've seen him now. I can't remember. He's 2 or 3 sponsors I've heard him do radio commercials for. So there's no way Williams doesn't go overseas unless you can kind of match what he might have made there. So it also puts into the fold the guy that is going to be a pro, maybe not an NBA player, but a pro, and he can stay here. I wish Lester Quinones had done that, although I did think he got some pretty good money in his initial signing with the Golden State Warriors. But it does. It even brings guys who are really good players like Williams that are just not going to make the NBA, but they can make good money on the back end of their collegiate career by staying. So it's pretty good. Last thing, and this has to do with bold predictions that you have come up with in your latest column at the Sporting News. Give me your biggest bold prediction.
Wow. My biggest bold prediction, well, I guess the biggest would be who wins it because, as I said, everywhere else you look just about, you'll find North Carolina predicted to win the national championship. And although I certainly think they have the ability to do that, and they're going to be very difficult to stop. And there's a lot of similarity between this Carolina team and the 2009 team that did win it and was really difficult to stop. I don't think this team is quite as talented as the 2009 group with Lawson and Tyler Hansbrough, et cetera. But maybe this field isn't as talented as whatever existed in 2009. I don't know. But I think that for me, the separator was Kentucky's ability to become a destructive defense. Carolina can't do that. They can maybe get good enough to slow you down. They weren't that good last year, but they can get there. Kentucky can get to be a team that just breaks you on as many possessions as possible, takes it right out of your hands, blocks your shots. They're built to do that, and that's their A game. That's not Carolina's. Now, Carolina may counter that by being so good offensively that even if Kentucky's great defense is out there, that Carolina still puts too many buckets in that Kentucky can't stop. That's not what I see coming. I think Kentucky's going to be a terrific offensive team and an extraordinary defensive team, and I think that's what separates them.
He's Mike DeCourcy, the Hall of Famer, lead college basketball analyst at the Sporting News, and he's on this show. Usually on Tuesdays. He'll go back to that slot next week. Thank you, Mike. We appreciate it. Enjoy signing day.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for accommodating me today. I appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. That is our man, Mike DeCourcy. He is brought to you by the good folks at Grind City with that very popular Pilsner called, appropriately, Poppy's Pills. It's what the doctor ordered. This pill is refreshing. It's really terrific. Light and crisp. My kids like to say ultra crushable, made right here in Memphis, right at that beautiful brewery. If you've not been to Grind City downtown, they got this big expanse. It's a cool place. They got picnic tables out. I've actually gone to this Roxy's restaurant where you can get this great burger down there, and then just gone about, it's like a mile. And on your left, you'll find Grind City Brewery. It's beautiful. And, of course, the product's great. I love Tiger Tail, but I love this Pilsner. It's refreshing, and you can get it in 6 and 15 packs all over town. Best enjoyed ice cold. That's what the doctor ordered, Poppy's Pills. The Pilsner, the great Pilsner from Grind City. We'll be back again, same time tomorrow. Johnny Radio's next. Have a great day, everyone.
I often say they've set the bar for the way car